How does a number that should be silent for 20 years call you like nothing happened? What do you do when the voice on the line says, I am mom, but I am a grown man, and my son saved me that way for a reason? Why did that call arrive right when my ex-wife started talking about family legacy again? My name is Grant Miller. I am 56 years old. I work with network lines and service calls. Most days, my life is quiet and practical. I fix what is broken. I write down what I did. I move on. For 20 years, I kept one small thing the same. I kept my son's old phone number on my plan. People hear that and they make a face. They act like it is strange. They think it is only sadness. Some people even treat it like a joke, like I enjoy paying for nothing. They do not see it the way I see it. That number is a label in my head. It is a piece of my old life that I refuse to let other people edit. It is also the last place my son's name still shows up on my screen, exactly how I saved it. I do not talk about this much. I learned that the moment you talk, someone will try to correct you. Someone will say you should move on. Someone will say you should be strong in the way they like. I am already strong in the way my life requires. That morning started like any other. I was in my kitchen. The window over the sink had a thin layer of winter light, the kind of light that does not feel warm but still shows you everything clearly. I had my work shirt on and my keys in my hand. I was rinsing a mug because I hate leaving dishes behind. I like starting a day with a clean counter. My phone was on the table, face up. I keep it face up because I do not like surprises. The screen lit up and vibrated once, hard enough to make a small clicking sound against the wood. I looked without thinking. The number on the screen was his number. For a second, my body did not understand what my eyes were seeing. It felt like a wrong label on the right object, like someone put my name on a stranger's badge. Then my throat went dry. I stood there with the mug still in my hand. Water ran over my fingers and down into the sink. I told myself it was a wrong call. I told myself it was a spam call. I told myself anything that would keep my mind steady. But the screen was not showing unknown. It was showing the contact name I saved a long time ago, the name I never changed. I answered. I did not say much. I did not trust my voice yet. There was a pause, like the other person was checking the air between us. Then I heard breathing, close to the phone, a little rough, not like a robot. Then a voice spoke. The first word hit me in a strange way. The voice called me Mom. I am a grown man. I have always been a grown man. Still, that word landed in my chest like a familiar weight, because my son used to call me that. Not in public, not in front of other people. It was our private joke when he was little. I did a lot of the daily things. I made lunches. I did school forms. I handled sick days. He once laughed and saved me in his phone as Mom. After that, he used it when he wanted to make me smile. Only he called me that. The voice on the phone said it again, like it was trying to hold on to the word. Then it said it did not have much time. The sentence was short. The tone was not dramatic. It sounded tired. My hand tightened around the phone. The mug slipped in my other hand and knocked against the sink. I did not even feel it. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible stories. I tried to speak. I tried to ask who it was. I tried to ask what it meant, but the call ended. Just like that. No warning, no slow fade. 1 second there was a voice, and the next second there was only the dead quiet of my kitchen. I stared at the screen. My finger hovered over the callback button. I pressed it. The phone rang once, then went to nothing. Not a normal message, not a normal busy tone, just nothing. I stood there longer than I should have. My work brain told me to move, my hands knew I would be late, but the rest of me was stuck in a place I do not visit anymore. I turned the tap off. I set the mug down. I took a slow breath. I looked around my kitchen like the walls would tell me what to do. I told myself two things. First, I told myself there was a simple explanation. Second, I told myself I would find it. I grabbed my jacket and my keys. I left the house and locked the door the same way I always do. I do not like leaving anything open when my mind is not steady. Outside, the air was sharp. The street was quiet. My truck was parked where it always is. I got in, started it, and sat there for a moment with the heater running. I checked my call log. The call was there. The number was there. The time was there. Nothing about it looked like a dream. I looked at the contact photo I never changed. It was an old picture from a cheap phone camera. A boy smiling with a missing front tooth. The edges of the photo were blurry, but the smile was still clear. I did not cry. I do not say that with pride. I say it because it is true. My mind was too busy counting details. My mind was already doing what it does at work. It was trying to make a clean map. The day went on because it had to. I drove to my first job. I fixed a bad connection in a small office. I nodded at people. I kept my face calm. I smiled when I had to. I moved my hands the way I always do. But my phone stayed heavy in my pocket, like a stone. At lunch, I parked outside a supply store and ate a sandwich I barely tasted. I sat in my truck with the seat leaned back a little. I stared at the steering wheel. I replayed the voice in my head. It was not my son's voice. I knew that. I could admit that without breaking. But it used the one word that only my son used. That is what bothered me. That is what made it feel personal. I looked at the number again. I looked at the time again. I took a screenshot. It was not a dramatic act. It was just habit. When something looks wrong, I save the first proof I see. My phone stayed quiet after that. By late afternoon, I had one more stop before I went home. It was not a work stop. It was a community center meeting. I had been going there for years, even when I did not want to. The scholarship. My son's scholarship. It is small compared to the big city programs. It helps a few kids. It pays for books and fees. It gives them a start. That is all I ever wanted it to be. At first, it was simple. A few people helped. I did the paperwork. I wrote the check each year. Then my ex-wife started showing up more. Her name is Lena. She is my age, but she looks like she lives a different life. She dresses like she is always about to be photographed. Her smile is practiced. Her voice is soft when people are watching. Lena has a new husband named Graham. He is younger than her. He has the kind of confidence that fills a room without permission. He talks like he is giving instructions, even when he is just telling a story. They arrived at the community center before me. When I walked in, I saw them near the front desk. Lena was laughing at something Graham said. Tyler was with them, too. Tyler is Lena's brother. He has always treated me like I am in his way. He speaks to me like I am a slow student. He asks questions that are not really questions. The lobby smelled like coffee and floor cleaner. The lights were too bright. A few staff members were setting up chairs in a meeting room down the hall. I kept my face neutral and walked over. Lena greeted me with that soft voice. She said it was good I came. She said everyone was excited about the upcoming fundraiser. Graham looked me up and down, the way some men do when they think they are measuring you. He smiled and said I was looking well. The words were polite, but the tone was not. It sounded like he was surprised I still existed. Tyler added that it was about time I stopped hiding and showed up like a proper supporter. I did not react. I just nodded. We went into the meeting room. The table was covered with papers, flyers, and a sign-up sheet. I sat where there was space. No one offered me the seat near the front. No one asked my opinion first. That part was normal now. People started talking about the event plan. Lena spoke like she was the owner of the whole idea. She used the scholarship name often. She said it like a brand, not like a person. Graham talked about donors and social media and image. He said that word several times. He said it mattered how things looked. At one point, he looked at me and said it would be powerful if I did something special this year. He said it would be good for the story if I handed over the old phone number at the event. I blinked once, slow. I asked him what he meant. He said the number was part of the legacy. He said it would be meaningful to let the family manage it. He said it would show unity. Lena nodded beside him. She said it could be healing. She said she wanted to keep my son close. Tyler leaned back in his chair and smiled like he already won. He said I was the only one still clinging to old habits. He said I was making it hard for everyone else to move forward. I listened to all of it without interrupting. Inside my head, one thought stayed very clean. That number is not a stage prop. I kept my voice calm. I said I would think about it. Graham's smile widened like he heard yes. Lena's shoulders relaxed like she expected compliance. Tyler looked satisfied, like he had finally pushed the right button. I did not correct them. Not because I was afraid, because I wanted to understand what was happening. The meeting ended with more talk about schedules and speeches. Lena said there would be a special recognition moment for me at the gala. She said it would be emotional. I did not like the sound of that. I do not like my feelings being used to sell something. Now, when I stood to leave, Graham stepped closer and lowered his voice. He said the number was going to come up again, so I should be ready. He said it would be better if I agreed now, rather than looking difficult later. I looked at him and nodded once, like I understood. On my way out, a staff member near the door avoided my eyes. Not in a cruel way, in a guilty way. Like she knew the plan and did not want to be part of it. I walked back into the lobby. The bright lights made my head feel tight. I stepped outside into the cold air and breathed like I was clearing smoke from my lungs. In my truck, I sat with both hands on the wheel, not driving yet. I checked my phone again. No new calls, no messages, just the silent screen and that old contact name sitting there like a question. I did not feel panic anymore. I felt something else. I felt watched. Not by cameras, by people. It was like my grief had become a tool other people wanted to hold. They did not respect it. They just wanted to use it to make themselves look good, or to gain control of something they did not build. I started the engine and drove home the long way, letting my mind settle into order. By the time I pulled into my driveway, I had made one simple decision. I was going to find out how that call happened, and I was going to make sure no one used my son's name or his number as a handle to pull me around anymore. I did not sleep much that night. Not because I was crying. My mind just kept replaying small details, like it was sorting a messy drawer. The sound of breathing on the line, the way the voice used one private word, the way the call ended fast, like someone cut it on purpose. In the morning, I woke up and did my normal routine. I made coffee, I checked my calendar, I fed the neighbor's cat like I promised I would. From the outside, it looked like a normal day. Inside, I felt like I was walking with a stone in my pocket. The nickname Mom did not start as something serious. It started when my son was small. Lena and I were married then. She liked big plans and big moments. She liked birthdays with photos and matching outfits. I liked the quiet parts. I liked knowing where the homework folder was. I liked making sure the shoes fit. I liked having a steady schedule. Lena worked long hours at that time. Sometimes she was tired. Sometimes she was distracted. Sometimes she was gone for days with work trips that always sounded important, but never sounded clear. I did not fight her on it. I told myself families can be different. I told myself I could carry more if it kept peace at home, so I carried more. I learned how to braid my son's hair when he was little, and it was messy in the morning. I learned which teacher liked quick emails and which one liked paper notes. I learned which snack could calm him down after a hard day. I learned what kind of smile he had when he was trying to hide worry. One day he laughed and told me he saved me as Mom in his phone. He said it made sense because I did the daily things. He said it like it was obvious. I told him he could not talk like that in public. He said he understood. Then he used it only when we were alone, like a secret handshake. That is why the word mattered. When my son was gone from our life, the world did not stop. It kept moving, and people kept needing things from me. At first, I did not know what to do with my hands, so I did the only thing I knew how to do. I built a routine around what was left. I kept working. I kept the house in order. I kept one picture on the fridge. I kept his number on my phone plan. I did not do it because I thought he would call. I did it because the number was his name in my system. People think that is silly. They do not understand how a small symbol can hold a lot of meaning. For me, it was a way to say, quietly, that he mattered and still matters. Lena handled it differently. For a while after everything changed, she was not around much. Then she came back in a way that felt public. She showed up at community events. She spoke to people with a soft voice. She held my arm like we were still a team. She told others she wanted to honor our son. People nodded and looked at her with sympathy. People also looked at me like I was a shadow behind her. At first, I accepted it. I thought maybe this was how she was trying to cope. I did not want to argue in front of people. I did not want to turn my son's name into a fight. That is how the pattern started. The scholarship started simple too. It began with a small talk at a community center. A counselor told me some local students were strong but needed help with fees and books. I said I could help one student each year. I did not want a spotlight. I just wanted the help to be real. I set it up quietly. I learned the rules. I filled out the forms. I met with a small board. I wrote checks when it was time. I tried to keep it clean and honest. Then Lena asked to be involved. She said she wanted to help, and she wanted it to look professional. She said if it looked bigger, more people would give. She said this was for our son, so it should be done right. I did not fight her. I told myself it could bring more support. I told myself it might even bring us peace. But soon, the scholarship felt less like a help program and more like a stage. Lena started choosing colors for flyers. Lena started deciding who would speak. Lena started asking for photo moments. She would tell people how proud she was. She would tell them how important legacy was. People would clap, then they would walk right past me to ask her questions about next year. At events, I would hear her introduce herself first. She would say she was the mother. She would say she carried the pain. She would say she wanted to keep the community strong. She did not say anything that was false on the surface, but the shape of the story always placed her in the center and me on the edge. If I tried to speak, she would gently touch my arm, like she was calming me down. She would tell me it was fine, and she would handle it. Sometimes she would say I looked tired and should rest. People would nod like that made sense. They assumed I could not manage. Over time, I noticed something else. When there was paperwork, she would forget to include me. When there was a meeting, she would send the time late. When there was a decision, she would say it was already agreed on. If I asked questions, she would say I was making things hard. She would say I was being emotional. She would say the scholarship needed leadership, not hesitation. I stayed calm. I said I understood. I told myself it was still for the students, and that mattered most. Then Graham entered the picture. Lena brought him to an event as someone who supports her. He was loud in a smooth way. He shook hands like he was running for office. He spoke to donors like they were old friends. He used words like brand, growth, and visibility. At first, I did not mind. If he wanted to help raise money, fine. But he did not help quietly. He helped in a way that always brought attention back to him. Soon he started acting like he had authority. He would tell staff what to do. He would rearrange tables. He would talk about my wife's scholarship like I was not in the room. He would pat my shoulder like I was a volunteer who needed encouragement. More than once, he spoke to me in a gentle tone and told me not to worry like he was taking something heavy off my hands. That tone was not kindness, it was control. Tyler joined in too, because Tyler always joins in. Tyler has a way of picking the moment when you are already tired. He uses that moment to push. He would say, I should be grateful Lena cares so much. He would say, I should be grateful Graham has energy. He would say the community likes a strong leader, and I am not the public type. He would tell me it was better if I stayed in the background and let the capable people run things. Sometimes he called me boy in that joking way that is not a joke. He would smile and act like it was friendly, but he always did it when others could hear. It was a way to place me lower without raising his voice. I learned to answer with short sentences. I told him I heard him. I told him I would think about it. I told him I did not want conflict. That is what they expected from me. Calm, quiet, agreeable, always paying, always stepping aside. Looking back, I can see how easy it was for them to build a story around me. I am not loud. I do not post my life online. I do not argue in public. I show up. I work. I solve problems. I leave. To people like Lena and Graham, that looks like weakness. They do not understand that calm can be a choice. They do not understand that a man can be quiet and still be firm. They also do not understand that I live in systems. My whole job is systems. Lines, records, steps, timelines. When something breaks, you do not shout at it. You trace it. The call from my son's number made me realize something, not about grief, about control. Someone used a private detail to pull my attention. Someone used a number that should have stayed untouched. And the same week, Lena and Graham started talking about that number like it was an object they could claim. That is why I stopped treating it like coincidence. I did not tell anyone that thought yet. Not June, not co-workers, not the board members. I kept it inside and watched. I listened. I took mental notes the way I do on a job site. The next time I saw Lena, she talked about the upcoming gala like it was already written. She said there would be a moment where donors would see unity. She said it would be beautiful. She said I would be thanked. Graham stood next to her and said it would be good if I handed over the number as a symbol. He said people love symbols. He said it would bring more money. I asked him why the number mattered for money. He smiled and said it was about story. He said donors give when they feel something. He said the scholarship needed a better story now, and the number could be part of it. Tyler added that I should stop acting like a guard at a closed door. He said the family should hold things together. He said I was only delaying what would happen anyway. I nodded and kept my face calm. I told them I would consider it. But in my head, I heard the voice on the call again. I heard that private word. I heard the tired tone. And I felt that clean, quiet change inside me. If they thought they could use my son's name, his number, and my silence to manage me, they were wrong. I did not need to raise my voice to prove that. I just needed to stop being easy to push. 2 days after that first call, I went back to the community center for another meeting. Lena said it was a quick planning session. She said we would only confirm the schedule. She said it would be smooth if everyone stayed positive. When I arrived, I saw the chairs were arranged in a half circle facing a small podium. That was new. In the past, we sat around a plain table and talked like normal people. This room looked like a rehearsal. Graham was already there. He had a folder in his hands and a confident smile. He spoke to the staff like he was giving them a checklist. He said the evening needed energy. He said the room needed the right feel. He said donors want to see leadership. I sat down and waited. I listened more than I spoke. I did not want to argue about chairs. I wanted to understand the direction. Mrs. Coe arrived a few minutes later. She greeted Lena warmly. Lena answered like she was already the main face of the scholarship. I noticed how Lena angled her body toward Mrs. Coe and away from me, like she was guiding the focus. The meeting started. Lena talked about the gala program. She said there would be a moment for a short speech and a moment for special recognition. She said the recognition would be for me because it would show gratitude. I asked what that meant in practice. Lena said it meant the audience would see me come up, smile, and accept thanks. She said it would be emotional. She said it would make people feel connected. Graham added that it would work best if I gave something symbolic on stage. He said the number would be perfect. He said it would make the room quiet in the right way. He said it would make donors open their hearts. I kept my voice even. I said I did not like the idea of turning the number into a public symbol. Graham's expression stayed friendly, but his tone changed. He said the scholarship was bigger than my comfort. He said the scholarship needed growth. He said sometimes adults have to do uncomfortable things for the greater good. Tyler laughed softly and said, I always make everything about my feelings. I did not raise my voice. I did not lean forward. I just looked at Tyler and said I was talking about control, not feelings. That made the room feel colder for a moment. Lena stepped in fast. She said I was misunderstanding. She said everyone wanted the same thing. She said I should trust her. She said she knew how the community works. Then she said something that crossed a line for me. She said the board was considering a leadership update. She said it would be cleaner if the scholarship had one public director instead of two parents with different styles. She said the board did not want confusion. She said it like it was already decided. I asked what that meant for me. Graham answered instead of her. He said it meant I could keep supporting the scholarship, but the public side would be handled by Lena. He said it was about professionalism. He said it was not personal. I looked at Mrs. Coe. Mrs. Coe did not look at me. She stared at her notes like she was trying to stay out of a storm. That was the moment I understood the plan. They wanted me present, quiet, and paying. They wanted my name for the story, my money for the program, and my silence for their comfort. I nodded slowly and said I heard them. Tyler leaned back and said that was the mature response. After the meeting, Lena tried to act warm again. She walked with me toward the lobby and said she knew it was hard for me. She said the number was a small thing compared to keeping the scholarship alive. She said I should not cling to symbols. I told her the number was not a symbol. I told her it was my account, my responsibility, and my boundary. She smiled like I was being stubborn. She said we would talk later when I was calmer. Graham waited near the doors. When Lena stepped away to speak to someone, he moved closer to me. He lowered his voice and told me not to make this difficult. He said Lena deserved control after all these years. He said the community trusted her. He said no one wanted to watch me hesitate on stage. I kept my face neutral. I said I understood he had an opinion. He laughed like I was being clever. Then he said something that made my skin go tight. He said the number would not stay with me forever anyway. He said systems change. He said accounts move. He said it is better to cooperate than to get left behind. He walked away before I could ask what he meant. I went to my truck and sat there with my hands on the wheel. My heart was steady, but my thoughts were sharp. I replayed Graham's words the way I replay a signal problem. I listened for the hidden meaning. That evening, I decided to stop guessing and start verifying. The next morning, I went to the phone carrier retail store near my work route. It was a bright place with posters about new devices and cheerful slogans. The kind of place that makes complicated systems look simple. I waited in line behind two people. When it was my turn, I spoke to a young clerk with tired eyes. I told him I needed to review activity on a specific line on my plan. He asked for my ID. He asked for my account verification. I gave him what he needed. I kept my voice calm and clear. He looked at the screen and frowned slightly. He said the line showed recent changes. He said it had been touched in the system. I asked what kind of changes. He said he could not tell me everything at the counter, but he said he saw indicators that the line had been moved in a way that normally requires extra steps. I asked if the line was still on my plan. He hesitated, then said it looked active, but not in the way he expected. He said it was complicated. I asked for a supervisor. He went to the back and returned with a manager. The manager greeted me with a polite smile that looked practiced. I explained the situation again. I told her that the number should be quiet. I told her I received a call from it. I told her someone was pressuring me to hand it over. The manager's eyes narrowed for a moment, like she was shifting into a different mode. She asked me a few questions about my account security. She asked if I shared passwords. She asked if anyone had access to my device. I told her no. I told her I keep my account private. I told her I do not share. She typed for a while. Then she said something I did not like. She said she saw a request connected to the line that did not match my usual pattern. She said she could not explain details at the counter, but she said it needed review by the fraud team. I asked what the next step was. She said she could open a case and the fraud team would contact me. She said they would verify everything properly. She said I should also add extra protection to the account. I told her to open the case. She printed a small receipt with a case number on it. She slid it across the counter. It was plain paper, not dramatic, but it felt like a first solid piece of ground. I put the receipt in my wallet. I did not show it to anyone. I just kept it safe. On the way out, the clerk said he hoped it got resolved. He said some people do terrible things with numbers. His voice was quiet, like he did not want the manager to hear him. I nodded and thanked him. After I left, I sat in my truck and wrote down the time and what I was told. I wrote it in a simple list: date, place, who I spoke to, what they said, what I asked, what they did. It was not anger that made me do that. It was clarity. Later that same day, I got a message from Tyler. He said we needed to talk privately. He said this could stay in the family if I stopped being stubborn. He said we could meet near the hotel where the gala would happen because he would be in that area. I did not like the idea, but I also did not want him showing up at my home, so I agreed to meet him in a public place. We met in a parking garage stairwell near the hotel. It was not my choice. Tyler said it was quiet and quick. The concrete walls made every sound bounce. A car door closed somewhere above us. The air smelled like exhaust and cold dust. Tyler started with a friendly tone. He said Lena was stressed. He said Graham was doing a lot of work. He said the community liked the new energy. He said I should not ruin it. I told him I was not trying to ruin anything. I told him I was protecting what I built. Tyler's friendly tone disappeared. He said I did not build it alone. He said Lena is the mother. He said people connect with her more. He said I should accept reality. I told him reality includes the fact that I am still here. He stepped closer and said I was making a mistake. He said the board could freeze me out completely. He said donors could stop giving if they saw drama. He said Lena could speak publicly about how difficult I have been. He said it like a warning, not advice. Then he said there was a simple way to avoid it. He said I could sign a small agreement. He said it was just a formality. He said it would give Lena and Graham permission to manage the legacy. He said it would make the gala smooth. I asked him where the agreement was. He tapped the inside pocket of his jacket and said he had it. He said we could do it right now and be done. I did not ask to see it. I did not reach for it. I did not argue about it. I just told him no. Tyler looked surprised. He said I should think carefully. I told him I already did. He said I was acting like I had power. He said I do not. He said Lena has the community. He said Graham has the donors. He said I am just the quiet man with a checkbook. I looked at him and said he was wrong about one thing. I said I am the quiet man with records. Tyler's eyes narrowed. He asked what I meant. I told him it meant I do not do deals in stairwells. I told him it meant I do not sign papers under pressure. I told him it meant if anyone wants changes, they can do it the right way, in the open, with proper steps. Tyler scoffed. He said I was trying to sound important. I did not respond to that. I stepped back and walked out of the stairwell into the open air. In my truck, I sat for a minute and stared at the dashboard. Not because I felt small, because I felt sure. That was the switch for me. Not rage, not a dramatic promise. Just a clean decision. I was done being managed. That night, I went into my home office. It is a small room with a desk, a lamp, and shelves of old manuals and toolboxes. I opened a drawer and took out a USB drive I use for work backups. I put it on the desk. Then I created a folder on my computer with a simple name. I wrote the date at the top of a document. I started a timeline. I added the screenshot of the call log. I added notes about the meeting. I added notes about the store visit. I added Tyler's message. I did not add opinions. I did not add feelings. I added facts. I sat back and looked at the screen. For years, they thought my calm meant I would always give in. They thought my quiet nature meant I would never act. They thought I would accept whatever story they built around me. They did not understand how I work. When something breaks, I trace it. When someone pressures me, I document it. When a system is being used wrong, I bring it into the light where it has to follow rules again. I turned off the lamp and went to bed. My house was quiet. My phone was on the nightstand, face up like always. I did not know yet who made that call or how they did it. But I knew one thing clearly. Someone crossed a line, and I was going to respond the right way. The next week felt normal on the outside. I went to work. I fixed lines. I filled out service notes. I ate lunch in my truck. I smiled at customers. I did not tell them anything. Inside, I was building structure. I did not want drama. I wanted clarity. I wanted clean steps. If someone was using my account or my son's number, then guessing would not help me. Only records would help me. I started with the simplest thing. I wrote everything down. In my home office, I kept one notebook on the desk. Each page had one date at the top. Under it, I listed what happened, who spoke, what was said, what time, what place. If I had a message, I noted the time it arrived. If I had a call, I noted the exact minute. It was not emotional. It was the same method I use at work. When a connection fails, you do not tell stories. You log facts. Facts do not get tired. Facts do not change their tone. 2 days after the store visit, the carrier fraud team called me. The caller introduced herself as Nina. Her voice was calm and direct. She asked me to verify my identity again. Then she asked me what I saw and what I believed happened. I told her I was not sure yet. I told her I received a call from a number that should not be used. I told her there were signs the line had been changed. I told her people in my life were pressuring me to hand over the number in public. Nina did not react to the social part. She focused on process. She asked if anyone had my login. She asked if I shared devices. She asked if I ever approved changes in a store. She asked if I received any codes by message. I answered each question with simple details, no opinions, no guesses. She told me the account showed activity that needed review. She said they would check how the line was accessed and whether the change matched normal security steps. She said there were rules for this, and those rules existed for a reason. That sentence stayed in my mind. Rules exist for a reason. Nina also told me to tighten my account. She told me to change my password and my PIN. She told me to add extra protection. She told me not to discuss the case with anyone who did not need to know, because loose talk can make things messy. I told her I understood. After the call, I changed everything. I wrote down the steps I took. I kept it all in one place, neat and simple. That same week, I scheduled a short meeting with Attorney Ruiz. I did not pick him because he was dramatic. I picked him because he was careful. June knew him through a neighbor dispute years ago. She said he did not shout. He did not promise miracles. He just worked inside systems until the system had to respond. His office was small and quiet. The waiting room had plain chairs and a bowl of mints on a side table. No expensive show, no loud decor. When I sat across from him, he asked me to explain everything from the start. I told him about the call. I told him about the nickname. I told him about Lena, Graham, and Tyler pushing for control. I told him about the carrier visit and the fraud case. He listened without interrupting. Then he asked one question that made me pause. He asked what I wanted. Not what I felt, not what would make me look good, just what outcome I wanted. I told him I wanted two things. I wanted the number protected, and I wanted the scholarship protected. I told him I did not want a shouting match. I did not want a public scene. I wanted a clean boundary that could not be twisted into a story about me being difficult. Ruiz nodded. He said that was possible, but only if I stayed consistent. He said I should keep collecting facts. He said I should avoid private meetings in strange places. He said if someone pressured me to sign anything, I should not touch it. He said proper steps exist for a reason, and the moment you leave proper steps, the other side can claim anything. He also told me something I already felt. He said people who push fast often do it because they need you to act before you think. I left his office and walked to a coffee shop near the courthouse. It was a simple place with small tables and quiet music. I sat with my drink and opened my notebook. I wrote down what Ruiz said in short lines. I did not write feelings. I wrote instructions. That afternoon, my work phone kept ringing with normal jobs. A router here, a damaged line there, a small business owner with a tired voice asking if I could come today, not tomorrow. I did my work. I kept my hands steady. But in the back of my mind, I kept seeing that number lighting up my screen. 2 days later, I got a call from my bank. The caller said they wanted to confirm a recent verification attempt. They said there was a request to access an account using a code path that did not match my usual behavior. They spoke carefully, like they did not want to scare me, but they also did not want to miss something serious. I asked what triggered the alert. The caller said they could not share everything on the phone, but they could confirm the time window and the method. They asked if I was trying to update contact details. I said no. They asked if anyone else might have tried. I said I did not authorize anything. They told me to come in person, with ID. They said it would be best to review my security and make sure no changes went through. I drove to the bank after work. The lobby was bright and clean. People stood in line holding forms. A holiday display sat in the corner. The normal world was moving like nothing was wrong, and that made my problem feel even more sharp. A staff member brought me into a small office with a glass wall. She spoke gently. She asked me to confirm my identity again. Then she explained that an attempt was made to confirm access in a way that raised flags. She did not accuse anyone. She did not say names. She did not tell me stories. She spoke in the same clean language Nina used: rules, steps, verification. I told her I was dealing with a phone number issue and a fraud case. I told her I wanted my accounts locked down. She helped me change security settings and add extra protection. She told me they would note the incident and keep a record. She said if any further attempts happened, the bank would respond fast. Before I left, I asked for the name of the staff member I spoke with and the exact time of the meeting. I wrote it down in my notebook in the car. That night, I opened my laptop and looked at Lena's public posts. I do not spend time online like she does, but I wanted to see what story she was telling. She posted photos from past scholarship events. She used words like legacy and healing. She wrote about keeping our boy close. She posted a picture of the scholarship banner and tagged Graham as if he was the builder of it. In the comments, people praised her. They praised her strength. They praised her leadership. A few donors wrote that they were excited for the gala announcement. One person asked where I was in the planning. Lena answered with a soft sentence that sounded kind, but it placed me exactly where she wanted me. She wrote that I was supportive but private, and that she was handling the public work with Graham because it was easier for everyone. Easier for everyone. I stared at that phrase for a long time. Then I closed the laptop and did not reply. Arguing in the comments section would only help her. It would make me look unstable. It would make her look calm and patient. That is the shape of the trap. Instead, I added one line to my timeline. Date, time, post, content summary. No emotion. A few days later, Mrs. Coe called me. Her voice was friendly but careful. She said the gala planning was going well. She said there would be a special moment for me. She said donors loved a personal connection. She also said something that felt like a gentle push. She said it would be good if I publicly showed support for Lena and Graham. She said people worry when they sense tension. She said the scholarship should feel unified. I told her I wanted the scholarship to stay clean and focused on students. I told her I would attend the gala. I told her I would be respectful. Mrs. Coe seemed relieved. She said she would send my invitation. When the envelope arrived, it looked expensive. Thick paper, clean print, my name centered in dark ink. Inside, it said I would be recognized as a founding supporter. It also listed a short program schedule, a welcome, a dinner, a presentation, a legacy moment. The phrase was not detailed, but I could feel what it meant. They planned to put me on stage, in front of cameras and donors, and guide me into a public act that gave them control. I sat at my kitchen table with the invitation in front of me. The house was quiet. My coffee cooled beside my hand. This was not about honoring my son. It was about managing me. I thought about Graham's comment in the community center. Systems change, accounts move. Better to cooperate than get left behind. I thought about Tyler offering a small agreement in a stairwell. I thought about the call, the private word, the short warning. My mind did not jump to wild ideas. It stayed practical. If someone wanted my son's number and they were willing to create pressure, then they might also be willing to use other systems connected to that number. Systems like verification steps. Systems like donor contact lists. Systems like scholarship accounts. That did not mean I had proof yet, but it meant I had enough to treat it seriously. So I did what Ruiz told me to do. I stayed consistent. I stopped taking calls from Tyler unless they were in writing first. I kept messages. I did not respond fast. I responded calmly. I wrote down each contact. When Lena called, I kept the conversation short. I told her I was busy. I told her I would see her at the gala. I did not argue about the number. I did not explain my boundary again. I did not give her new material for her story. At work, I did not tell anyone. Not because I was ashamed, because workplaces are full of loose talk, and loose talk turns into rumors. Rumors do not help me. At home, I tightened my routine. I checked my accounts daily. I kept my phone face up. I backed up my call logs. I kept my notebook updated. I also did one more quiet thing. I called Nina again through the proper line and asked for an update. I did not demand. I did not complain. I asked what the next step would be and what I should do if the number called again. She told me to save everything and report it immediately. She told me not to engage with anyone using that number. She said the team would handle it as a case, not as a personal story. I thanked her and ended the call. That evening, I sat in my home office and looked at the folder on my screen. It was growing, but it was still orderly. Each file name had a date. Each note had a time. Each event had a place. I leaned back in my chair and took a slow breath. For years, Lena and her circle treated me like I was only useful when I stayed quiet. They acted like my calm nature meant I would accept anything if it was wrapped in soft words. But calm is not surrender. Calm is discipline, and discipline is what keeps a man steady while he prepares to do things the right way. The week before, the gala was full of normal noise. Phones rang at work. Customers asked for fast fixes. Traffic slowed every afternoon. None of that changed. What changed was how I moved inside my own life. I stopped hoping the situation would calm down on its own. I stopped telling myself that if I stayed quiet, people would become reasonable. I had tried that for years. It only taught them that my silence was a free space they could use. So I did what I always do when something matters. I prepared. I met Attorney Ruiz again on a Tuesday morning. I took a folder with me, but I did not open it in the waiting room. I do not like showing private things in public spaces. I waited until I sat across from him and the door was closed. Ruiz asked me if anything new happened. I told him about the bank alert. I told him about the pressure in the meetings. I told him Tyler tried to get me to sign something in a stairwell. I told him I refused and walked away. Ruiz did not look surprised. He said pressure in quiet corners is common when someone wants control without witnesses. He said my refusal was the right move. Then he asked me a hard question in a calm voice. He asked if I believed Lena was involved directly, or if Graham was driving it. I told him I was not here to guess. I told him I was here to follow proof. I told him I did not want a story. I wanted a clean outcome. Ruiz nodded. He said that was the safest approach. He said people who live on image often try to pull you into emotions. He said the way to stop that is to bring everything back to records and policy. He asked me if I was still willing to attend the gala. I said yes. He asked why. I told him because the gala was their stage. I told him they planned to use a public moment to trap me into agreement. I told him I wanted to be present so I could refuse calmly, in the open, with witnesses if needed. Ruiz said that was reasonable. He also said something that stuck with me. He said if the other side is using a public event to pressure you, then a public event is also where proper systems can respond. After that, Ruiz asked me to keep my communication simple. He told me to avoid long phone calls. He told me to keep replies short and in writing when possible. He told me to stop meeting Tyler alone. He said I did not owe anyone private access to me. I left his office with my mind clear. I did not feel angry. I felt organized. That afternoon, Nina called again. She said the fraud team needed one more verification step from me. Her tone stayed professional. She did not talk about my family. She talked about access records and security markers. She asked if I had traveled recently. She asked if I ever asked for a line transfer. She asked if I visited any stores besides the one I already listed. I answered each question with a simple yes or no, then a short detail if needed. Nina told me the number was being monitored now in a stricter way. She told me that if I received contact again from that number, I should not respond with conversation. She told me to save the record and report it. She said their team could act faster if I stayed consistent. I thanked her and ended the call. After work, I stopped by the public library again. I sat in the same quiet corner as before. I did not want to feel dramatic. I wanted to feel steady. I looked up the scholarship's public materials. I looked at the names listed on the committee. I looked at the event page. I read the gala description. The language was careful and polished. It spoke about legacy and community leadership. It used Lena's name often. It used Graham's name next to hers. My name appeared, but only as a founding supporter, like I was a sponsor, not a father. I took notes in my notebook. I wrote down dates and phrases. Not to argue about words, but to track intent. Words tell you what someone is trying to build. When I got home, I found a message from Lena. She said she wanted to meet for coffee before the gala. She said she wanted to clear the air. She said she did not want tension on a big night. I read it twice. Then I replied with one sentence. I told her I was busy, and I would see her at the gala. I did not add more. I did not explain. I did not defend myself. I did not give her a chance to twist a longer message into a new story. A few minutes later, Tyler sent me a message too. He said I was being difficult. He said people were talking. He said I was risking the scholarship by acting stubborn. He said the community did not like conflict. I did not answer him at all. That was a change for me. In the past, I would have tried to smooth it over. I would have written something calm to prove I was calm. I would have tried to earn respect from people who had no interest in giving it. This time, I let silence do its job. The next day, June came by my house in the evening. She brought a small bag of groceries and set it on the counter like she lived here. She does that sometimes. It is her way of saying I am not alone. She asked how I was holding up. I told her I was fine. I told her I was tired, but clear. June looked at my face for a moment and said she could see the difference. She said my eyes looked focused. She said it reminded her of how I used to look when I had a hard work problem and I knew I would solve it. I told her I was not chasing a fight. I told her I was choosing structure. June asked if I was scared about the gala. I thought about it. Then I said no, not scared. I said I disliked being used. I said I disliked public pressure. But I said I knew how to stand still in front of people now. I said I had done that many times in life, in other forms, and I could do it again. June nodded and said one thing that felt like a warning and a comfort at the same time. She said people like Lena and Tyler do not understand calm strength. She said they confuse it with softness. She said they only learn when calm strength becomes action. After June left, I went into my home office and checked my timeline again. I read my notes from the beginning, slowly, like I was reviewing a job report. The pattern was clear. First, pressure, then urgency, then a request to hand over control in a public moment, then a private push to sign something quickly. At the same time, strange activity around a number and account security. It all leaned in one direction. I did not have to accuse anyone in my head. I only had to see that the direction was real. The next day at work, I got a call from an unknown number. I did not answer it right away. I let it go to voicemail. I listened after. It was a short message from a man who did not introduce himself clearly. He said the gala was important and I should not embarrass Lena. He said I should remember what people think of me. I saved the message. I wrote the time down. I did not call back. That night, I sat at my kitchen table and looked at the gala invitation again. I read the schedule. I imagined the room. I imagined the lights. I imagined the microphone and the polite applause. I could picture Graham leaning toward me with that confident smile. I could picture Lena touching my arm like she was guiding a child. I could picture Tyler watching me, ready to tell the story of how I finally agreed. I realized something simple. They were counting on me to feel trapped by politeness. They believed I would sacrifice my boundary to avoid awkwardness. They believed I would sign away control just to stop eyes from turning toward me. I took a slow breath and told myself I did not owe them that. The next morning, I met Ruiz one more time, briefly, in a coffee shop near the courthouse. He chose the place. He said it was a good neutral space. We did not talk like people planning drama. We talked like people setting a process. He asked if anyone tried to contact me again. I told him yes and gave him the basic details. He asked if I responded. I said no. He said that was good. He reminded me that the gala was not a courtroom. He said I should not argue like it was. He said I should keep my words short. He said if I needed to speak, I should speak like a man reporting facts, not like a man begging to be understood. I told him I could do that. After that meeting, I did one practical thing at home. I laid out my clothes for the gala. Not fancy. Clean. Plain. The same kind of look I wear when I meet customers. I did not want to compete with Graham's shine. I wanted to look like myself. Quiet. Solid. Boring in the best way. On the day of the gala, my phone stayed quiet in the morning. Work was steady. I finished my jobs. I closed my work notes. I drove home and showered. In the mirror, I looked older than I did in my mind. Not weak, just older. Lines around my eyes, gray at my temples. A face that has carried responsibility for a long time. People like Graham see that and think it means I am slow. They think it means I will accept being pushed aside. I buttoned my shirt and told myself one more time that calm is not weakness. Calm is control. I drove to the hotel early. The parking lot was already filling. People walked in groups, dressed well, laughing with easy confidence. Inside, the lobby smelled like polished wood and warm lighting. Staff moved quickly. A sign near the entrance listed the gala name and the scholarship name in clean print. I saw Lena near the check-in area, smiling at someone. I saw Graham talking with two men in suits, his hands moving as he spoke. I saw Tyler standing nearby, watching the room like a guard. No one noticed me at first. That was fine. I checked in, took my place, and kept my face calm. I was not there to chase attention. I was there to make sure the right rules mattered more than their story. The ballroom was full by the time dinner plates started coming out. The lights were warm, and the room felt expensive. People laughed easily. Glasses clinked. A small camera crew moved near the side wall, and I could tell they were there for a clean, emotional clip. I stayed near the back, close to a pillar where I could see the stage and the main tables. Graham floated through the room like he owned it. He shook hands, leaned in, and smiled wide. Lena stayed close to him, always angled toward the people with the biggest name tags. Tyler watched me the way a man watches a door, like he expected me to try something messy. When the host announced the legacy moment, the room got quiet in a practiced way. Lena walked up first. She spoke like she was reading a script she loved. She said the scholarship was a symbol of love and community. She said the night was about unity and moving forward. She said she was grateful to have a partner who helped carry the work. Then she invited Graham up, and he spoke like a man selling confidence. He said the scholarship needed modern leadership. He said the community was ready for a new chapter. He said the strongest thing a family can do is trust the right people to manage the legacy. Then my name was called. The lights shifted toward the aisle. People turned their heads. A polite applause rolled through the room. I walked up at a normal pace. I did not rush. I did not smile too wide. I stood where the host pointed and looked out at the crowd. Lena reached for my arm like she was guiding me into position. Graham leaned toward the microphone and said the room was about to witness something meaningful. He said I was going to pass the number to the family, and that act would show unity. I kept my hands at my sides. I asked the host for a brief moment to speak. My voice was steady. I said I came tonight to support students, and I would stay respectful. I also said I could not participate in any staged transfer of my private accounts. I said if the scholarship needed changes, it should be done through proper rules, with proper records, not through pressure. The room shifted. You could feel it. Not anger, just confusion. Graham smiled like he was about to smooth it over. He said I was nervous and needed reassurance. He said this was not the time for details. He said we should keep it simple for the donors. I looked at him and said the details mattered because they were already being used. Then I stepped slightly aside and nodded toward the back of the room. Nina stood up near the aisle with a badge visible on her jacket. A bank representative stood beside her, and an investigator in plain clothes was a step behind them. They walked forward calmly, not like people chasing a scene, but like people finishing a process. The host froze for a second, then asked what was happening. I said I had opened a formal case regarding unauthorized activity tied to the number being discussed tonight. I said the professionals here were not my guests for a speech. I said they were here because a public pressure moment had been planned around an account that was already under review. Nina spoke into the microphone briefly. She introduced herself as a specialist assigned to my case. She said, in simple terms, that the number showed system changes that did not match my verified security steps. She said the activity included a transfer request pattern and access markers that pointed away from my devices and my locations. The bank representative added that there were recent verification attempts connected to that same number. She said those attempts did not match my usual banking behavior. She said the bank had logged the events and protected the accounts, and they were cooperating with the investigation. You could hear the room stop breathing. Lena tried to smile, but her face tightened. She said this was inappropriate. She said it was private family business. She said I was embarrassing everyone. I said I did not bring this into public. I said it was brought into public when people tried to use the gala stage to force a transfer. I said I was responding the right way, through rules and records. Graham's voice got sharper. He said this was a misunderstanding. He said people were overreacting. He said I was confused and emotional. Nina did not argue with him. She simply asked him, out loud, to confirm whether he had visited a specific retail location on a specific date and whether he had interacted with an employee there about a line transfer. She said the system logs and camera records could confirm it either way. Graham's smile slipped. He looked at Lena. Lena looked at him, and for the first time that night, her control looked thin. Mrs. Coe stood up from her table, eyes wide. She asked if the scholarship accounts were at risk. The bank representative said donor funds were protected, but the governance process needed immediate review because access attempts and public pressure can create liability. Mrs. Coe did not hesitate after that. She walked toward the stage and told the host to pause the program. She said the board would hold an emergency vote to freeze access and remove public control from anyone under investigation until the review was complete. She said donors would receive a formal update through proper channels. Tyler stood up and tried to interrupt. He said this was a family matter and the board was being manipulated. Mrs. Coe looked at him and said the scholarship was not a family toy. She said it was a community responsibility. Ruiz stepped forward beside me. He introduced himself as counsel and said the board's protective action was standard and wise. He said the fastest way to protect students and donors was to follow policy, document everything, and stop any informal control immediately. That was the moment the room changed sides. People who had smiled at Graham all night started looking away. Donors checked their phones. A few stood up quietly and moved toward the exits, not running, just stepping out of the story they came to watch. The investigator spoke to Graham and asked him to come off the stage for a private discussion. Graham tried to protest, but his voice sounded smaller under the microphones. Lena reached for his arm again, but this time it looked like she was holding on so she would not fall. Mrs. Coe asked for the scholarship binder and the event access list. Staff moved fast, suddenly careful. The host stepped back like he wanted no part of it. I did not raise my voice. I did not give a speech. I said one final sentence into the microphone. I said I would always support students, but I would not hand my son's name to anyone who tried to take it by pressure. Then I stepped away from the lights. As I walked down the small stairs from the stage, I heard the sound of chairs scraping and the soft panic of whispered questions. In the back hallway, I saw Graham's event badge being taken from his jacket by hotel security at the investigator's request. His hands shook as he tried to explain himself. I kept walking. Outside the ballroom doors, my phone buzzed once in my pocket. I did not pull it out. I did not need to. The room behind me was silent in the way it gets silent when a story collapses and only records remain.